Beneath the dark hull of the ships, 50,000 men were shackled tightly to wooden benches. They knew one brutal truth: they were not warriors. They were fuel for a floating slaughterhouse. If the warship sank, the chains at their feet would drag them straight down into hell. It was October 7th, 1571. The Gulf of Lepanto was about to be torn apart by 400 warships. The Ottoman Empire, the seemingly invincible giant that had swallowed half the world, was advancing to turn Rome to ashes and erase Western civilization from history. Standing in the way of this tidal wave was only a fractured alliance crudely stitched together from enemies who despised one another. A desperate gamble. By every rule of military logic, they were charging headfirst toward death. But history does not obey logic. Over the next 5 hours, the sea became a living hell-stained red by the bloodiest day in the history of naval warfare. The most insane question remains: how could a divided, inferior Europe survive the guns of the most powerful superpower on Earth? To answer it, we must look to the moment when the wind changed, quite literally. But while that wind would eventually drive the ships, the fuel igniting the men's hearts had already been delivered weeks earlier. It arrived not as a declaration of war, but as a burlap sack thrown at the feet of the Holy League. Inside were the flayed remains of Marcantonio Bragadin, the Venetian defender of Cyprus. The Ottomans had promised Bragadin safety if he surrendered. Instead, they tortured him for days, cut off his ears and nose, and finally skinned him alive in the town square. They stuffed his skin with straw and paraded it on a cow through the streets. This wasn't just an execution, it was a psychological weapon. It was a message that screamed, resistance is futile. We are the inevitable future. But the message backfired. Instead of fear, it ignited a cold, fanatical fury. The Holy League is not here for territory, trade routes, or gold. They are here for blood. However, rage doesn't float ships, and it certainly doesn't unify empires. The alliance is a mess. The Spanish hate the Venetians. The Genovese distrust the papacy. The only glue holding this fragile coalition of egos together is a 24-year-old boy, Don John of Austria. He is the illegitimate brother of the Spanish king, young, inexperienced, and reckless. To the hardened admirals around him, he is a joke. But he possesses the one thing the older men lack: an absolute, borderline, suicidal refusal to retreat. While his advisors scream caution, terrified of losing their expensive fleets, Don John gives a simple order that sends a shiver down the spine of the Mediterranean: seek out the enemy and fight. On paper, the math is suicidal. Ali Pasha, the Ottoman supreme commander, commands 230 galleys and nearly 30,000 soldiers. His ships are lighter, faster, and more maneuverable. The Holy League has fewer ships and a slower fleet, but they have a secret: a black swan event waiting to happen. The Venetians have brought 6 strange lumbering beasts to the fight, the galleasses. To the Ottoman spies, these looked like slow, useless merchant ships. That is the first fatal mistake of the day. These are not ships, they are floating fortresses. While a standard galley can only fire cannons from the bow, meaning they have to aim the entire ship to aim the gun, the galleass is a porcupine of death. It is packed with heavy artillery on the sides, the rear, and the front. It creates a 360-degree kill zone that no wooden vessel can survive. The second difference is in the hands of the soldiers. The Ottomans rely on the composite bow, a weapon of elegance, deadly accuracy, and speed. A skilled archer can lose 6 arrows in the time it takes to reload a gun. But the Christians have brought the Arquebus. It's heavy, it's smoky, and it's inaccurate. But at close range in the cramped chaos of a ship's deck, it doesn't just kill a man. It punches through shields, armor, and bone. This is a battle of quantity versus impact, speed versus brute force, the old world against the new. The morning of October 7th, the fleets spot each other. The Ottomans have the perfect position. They have the numbers, and most importantly, they have the wind. The breeze is blowing strongly from the east, filling Ottoman sails and pushing them forward like a cavalry charge. The Christians, meanwhile, must row against the current, their muscles burning, exhausting their crews, before the first sword is even drawn. Ali Pasha sees this advantage. He orders his fleet to form a massive crescent moon shape stretching for miles, aiming to envelop the Christian line to crush them in a vice. But then the impossible happens. At around 10 a.m., just as the fleets are closing to cannon range, the wind stops. A moment of eerie, suffocating stillness hangs over the water, and then it shifts. The wind turns 180 degrees. Now it is blowing directly into the faces of the Ottomans. Their sails collapse. The smoke from their own cannons will now blow back into their eyes, blinding them. To the superstitious men on the decks, this isn't weather. This is the hand of God choosing a side. The silence breaks with thunder. The battle opens on the left flank. The Ottoman commander Sirocco knows the water here is shallow. He uses his lighter ships to sneak between the Christian line and the coastline, trying to flank them from behind. It's a brilliant move. The Venetian commander Barbarigo realizes too late. He has to pivot his ships to avoid being stabbed in the back. The fighting here is claustrophobic. This is not naval warfare as we know it. It is a traffic accident on water. Ships are locked together, grappling hooks flying, forming a wooden bridge of carnage stretching from the deep water to the beach. Barbarigo, needing to shout orders to his panic-stricken men, lifts the visor of his helmet for 1 second. That is 1 second too long. An Ottoman arrow strikes him directly in the eye. The commander goes down. Panic ripples through the Venetian line. They are bending. They are breaking. But the Venetians are fighting for their homes. Even as their admiral lies dying, they counterattack with the fury of men who have nothing left to lose. They don't just repel the boarders, they push them into the sea. The trap fails. Sirocco's ship is sunk, and he is pulled from the water, only to be beheaded on the spot. While the coast burns, the main event begins in the center. Remember those useless cargo ships, the galleasses. They are towed to the front of the Christian line. As the Ottoman fleet charges confident in their speed, the galleasses open fire. It is a slaughter. Cannonballs rip through the fragile hulls of the Ottoman galleys. Masts shatter. Oars are sheared off, leaving ships spinning helplessly in the water, like toys in a bathtub. Before the lines even meet, the Ottomans lose a third of their momentum. But Ali Pasha ignores the losses. He has one target, Don John. In a display of medieval chivalry that seems insane to modern eyes, the two supreme commanders steer their flagships directly at one another. The Sultana crashes into La Real. The impact is so violent, the prows of the ships merge. This isn't a naval battle anymore. It's a land battle on a floating platform of death. The elite Spanish tercios charge onto the Ottoman flagship. They are pushed back. The Ottoman janissaries countercharge onto the Christian ship. They are pushed back. Twice the Christians reach the main mast of the Ottoman ship. Twice they are slaughtered. In the middle of this meat grinder stands a young Spanish soldier named Miguel de Cervantes. He is sick with fever trembling below deck. But when the crash comes, he refuses to stay down. He grabs a sword and rushes onto the deck. He is shot twice in the chest and once in the arm, an injury that will maim him for life. But he keeps fighting. Years later, he would write Don Quixote. But today, he is just another body in the pile, fighting for survival. While the center is a stalemate, disaster strikes the Christian right flank. Andrea Doria, the Genoese admiral, is facing Ulugh Ali, a cunning Barbary corsair genius. It is a chess match between grandmasters. Ulugh Ali feints to the south, threatening to outflank Doria. Doria, terrified of losing his precious ships, takes the bait. He moves his ships further south to block the move. He stretches the line too thin. A gap opens between the center and the right wing. Uluj Ali sees the opening and snaps the trap shut. He ignores Doria and turns his ships 90 degrees, slicing straight through the gap to hit the Christian center from behind. This is the nightmare scenario. The Knights of Malta stationed at the edge of the gap are annihilated. Their flagship is captured. The Holy League is minutes away from total collapse. In the center, the stalemate on the flagship must end. The decks are slippery with blood. The Spanish musket ball finds its mark. It strikes Ali Pasha in the head. The Ottoman commander falls. Chaos erupts. But it's not over. A Spanish soldier caught in the adrenaline of survival hacks off Ali Pasha's head. Against all codes of honor, he jams the head onto a long pike and raises it high above the smoke. Silence ripples outward. The Janissaries, the most disciplined soldiers on earth, look up. They see their invincible leader staring back at them with dead eyes. The banner of the Caliphate falls. The morale of the Ottoman fleet shatters instantly. Panic is contagious. Ships begin to turn. Men jump into the water, preferring the depths of the sea to the Spanish steel. Meanwhile, the Christian reserve fleet arrives just in time to plug the gap Doria left open, cutting off Uluj Ali's surprise attack. The trap is broken. The hunter becomes the hunted. By sunset, the battle is over. The statistics are numbing. The Holy League has lost 7,500 men. But the Ottoman losses are catastrophic. 20,000 soldiers dead, 137 ships captured, 50 ships sunk, and perhaps most importantly, 12,000 Christian slaves, those men chained to the benches, are free. Their chains are cut, and they are given weapons to join the slaughter of their former masters. The sea was so thick with bodies and wreckage that for weeks the waves washed pink foam onto the Greek shoreline. So did Lepanto save Europe? Strategically, no. The Holy League, true to its nature, dissolved into bickering almost immediately. They failed to retake the Holy Land. They failed to retake Constantinople. Within 6 months, the Ottoman Empire, with its boundless resources, had built a brand new fleet, arguably better than the one they lost. The Grand Vizier famously told the Venetian ambassador, "By taking Cyprus, we severed your arm. By defeating our fleet at Lepanto, you merely shaved our beard, and a beard grows back thicker." However, looking at maps misses the point. Lepanto wasn't a strategic victory, it was a psychological earthquake. For 100 years, the Ottoman Turk was seen as a supernatural force, a punishment from God, invincible in battle. Europe lived in a state of paralyzing fear. Lepanto proved that the monster could bleed. It broke the spell of Ottoman invincibility. It marked the end of the age of the galley, the last time oared ships would dominate the Mediterranean. It was the moment the technology of the West, guns and heavy sails, finally overtook the sheer numbers of the East. Thousands of men died for a few miles of water that neither side would hold for long. But in the grand story of history, Lepanto stands as a fiery monument to human will. It reminds us that no empire is eternal, no odds are truly impossible, and sometimes the fate of the world really does hang on a shift in the wind.